For millennia, the Western Abenaki people have been stewards of this land where we now have the privilege of gathering as a religious community. Let us honor their legacy of love and stewardship. Good morning. I'm Sarah Franklin, your worship associate for this service. You can see from your order of service that one of our favorite UCM members, our own Peter Toms, is staffing the pulpit today. You can also learn that in 1991, Peter was ordained to the community ministry by the UU Urban Ministry in Roxbury, Massachusetts. He has taken as his subject today the blessed rage for order, challenges of pluralism and progress. We appreciate those of you who were able to be here in the sanctuary today, as well as those of you joining us from home via the live stream. We are glad to have your company and fellowship on this beautiful day, which is competing with our ability to perhaps be here. For over 155 years, this church has been a sanctuary for those seeking spiritual sustenance as well as advocacy for peace and justice in the wider world. We invite you to continue with us today on that path. Please know that there are hearing assist devices on the back table at the rear of the sanctuary for anyone who would find them helpful. It's always a pleasure to have newcomers and guests join us for worship. If this is your first or second time visiting, you are invited to stand or just wave your hands so that we might offer you a special welcome. We are glad all of you are here. Following this service, there will be a coffee hour to which everyone is invited. Today, Victoria Batten is our lay pastoral caregiver. If you have a personal concern, challenge, or loss that calls for support and the prayers of our spiritual community, look for Victoria after the service to share more deeply. Victoria, can you signal where you are? Here's Victoria. Thank you. Now let us take a few moments to turn to our neighbors in nearby pews and share a few words of greeting. Thank you. Thank you. You are invited to continue these conversations during coffee hour right after the service. And now, let us take a deep breath. Make sure our cell phones are silenced and enter more deeply into our time of worship with the prelude.
No one here to guide you. Now you're on your own. Only me beside you. Still you're on your own. No one is alone. Truly no one is Sometimes people leave you halfway through the wood. Others may deceive you. You decide what's good. You decide alone. But no one is alone. People make mistakes. Fathers, mothers, people make mistakes. Holding to their own. Thinking they're alone. Honor their mistakes. Everybody makes one another's terrible mistakes. Witches can be right, giants can be good. You decide what's right, you decide what's good. Just remember, someone is on your side. Someone else is not. While you're seeing your side, maybe you forgot they are not alone. No one is alone. Hard to see the light now. Just don't let it go. Things will come out right now. We can make it so. Someone is on your side. No one is alone.
Thank you, Bronwyn. Good morning. The opening words are from Sally Armstrong back in March. It's a little bit dated in terms of weather, but it's perfect otherwise. This is the day that has been given to us. In this moment, we are exactly where we were meant to be. We belong here. If you carry burdens, leave them like heavy winter coats in the vestry, or folded up and kicked under the pew. If you come seeking, may you be rewarded, like the child who finds the missing mitten in the bottom of their backpack, with a forgotten piece of candy in the palm and a quarter in the thumb. If your path is as challenging and daunting as a backyard in mud season, may you find confidence, courage, and comfort, knowing that we have chains and will join hands to help pull you out. If you are restless and have trouble sitting still, know that you don't need to read the words joining the singing, that dancing during hymns is welcome, and that the order of service has empty space for drawing. If you desire comfort, may you be warmed, like the rising sap in the glorious maples that stand on granite hillsides. If you are filled with despair, may you find hope in the children who stretch, wiggle, and bloom like snowdrops and crocuses in our churchyard. If you arrived rejoicing, allow the sunshine of your bliss to expand and fill the sanctuary with the golden light of a bright spring morning, which we have today. If you have wandered in full of curiosity, May you discover a place where you're free to question your answers. Make discoveries that nourish your journey, and know that you are truly welcome in this, our spiritual community, this, our spiritual home. Yes, this is the day that has been given to us. In this moment, we are exactly where we were meant to be. We belong here. Let us sing. Let us rejoice. Let us celebrate. Come, let us worship together. The opening hymn is probably familiar to all of you. It was written in 1900 by James Weldon Johnson, and the music was by his brother. And they were both very, very active in the NAACP, and it really became the Black national anthem. And interestingly enough, Representative James Clyburn of South Carolina has introduced a resolution in Congress to make this the national hymn.
So, and now I'd like you to welcome Beth Damon, who has joined us to light the chalice. Beth, as you know, is responsible for the beautiful flowers we see every week in this sanctuary. And who could ask for more than the beautiful lilacs that she's chosen for us today? They are in glorious abundance outside and inside. Thank you, Beth. So we light this flame, an enduring symbol of our collective commitment to lead with truth and compassion. Thank you, Beth. Now let us join our voices in saying these words of affirmation, adapted from L. Griswold Williams. You'll find them in your order of service. Love is the doctrine of this church, the quest for truth its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to the end of human need, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant. And now Sally Armstrong is going to lead us in the time for all ages.
Yes, I'd like to invite all the children to come forward, or anyone else who would like to join us up here. You're more than welcome. So please join me up here. Okay. You can come closer because there's not very many of us here. Okay, we'll wait for Mr. Miles to make it up here before we get started. Okay, so I was gone for several weeks. Did you miss me? No. Good answer, good answer. Okay, so I wanted to show you where I was. So, and you're going to have to use your imagination or revert back to 5th grade geography so you know where I was, people back there. But you guys can come up closer if you want to see. This is where we live, right? It's a blue one right there. That's where we live. Can you see it, Miles? Can you see where we are in Matilda? Okay, so I got on a plane in Boston, and I flew all night long, and I ended up way over here. I had to fly all across the ocean, and I ended up in Italy. And when I was in Italy, I met some children. Not a lot of children, but I met some children. The first place I visited was a school. And the children spoke to us in English. They would say, "My name is," and "I like to," and they'd fill in the blanks. But otherwise, we couldn't talk to each other because we spoke different languages. We spoke a different language. So I didn't blow this up, so the kids are going to have to tell you what you're looking at. What do you see here? Who can help me out and tell the grown-ups what you see? Don't all speak at once. What do you see there, Octavia?
A kid.
There's kids.
And I think she speaks a different language than you, probably.
And she does speak a different language than me, probably. What color's her hair?
Brown.
I did not see anyone at that school who had hair the color of yours. Blonde. There were no blonde children. There were no people who had hair the color of Matilda's or yours either case that I saw. They all had hair kind of like yours, Octavia, that was dark brown. And this little girl has something in her hand. What does she have? A heart. She has a heart. And this is that very heart. And I got to bring it home. Now, how do you think we communicated to each other? What do you think we did? How could I let her know that I was happy with this? She has the same thing on her face. What does she have there? A big smile. And her name is Marta. So when Marta gave me this heart, I smiled at her, and she smiled back at me. And while I was at that school, another way we communicated was there were children who were learning to speak our language, English, and they had books that they were reading. So I took a book that told all about something that we do here in Vermont in the springtime. It comes from the trees. We get sap, and we make it into maple syrup. They don't have maple syrup where she lives. Well, maybe they buy it at the store, but they don't get it from trees. Do you know what they have in their yards? Lemon trees. They have lemon trees. Everyone has a lemon tree, and they make, what do you think? Lemonade. They make lemonade. They make all kinds of products with lemons. So when I gave the book to the little boy and said, this is for your library to help you learn English, how did he answer me? I see you doing it. What did he do? He smiled, and I smiled back at him. One day, I was at the co-op. It was a store just about like ours, our co-op or our grocery store. And when I got in line to pay for my what I was getting, yogurt, by the way, I got in line, and there was a little boy there. And he was going like this to me, like, you go first. And I said, you go first. And he went, you go first. And then I said, the only thing I knew, no capisco. What do you think that means? I don't understand. And the little boy went, English. And so I went ahead of him in the line. While I was gone, there were many people that helped me. Lots of teenagers especially, because they were studying English in school. So one day, I was in a big city, and I was tired of walking around, and I just wanted to have a soda and sit down. So of course, you're in Naples, you go to McDonald's. So I went in McDonald's, and they had a machine that you could see what you wanted. So I pushed the buttons, and I knew what I was going to get. I was going to get a soda. Here's the problem. When it was my turn to get my soda, they called out a number. In what language do you think? Not mine. I didn't know when it was my turn to go up there. And there were some teenagers who were looking at me, and they figured out what I needed, and they smiled at me, and then they told the man behind the counter that, I think this is what they told him, that I didn't know the numbers. And so when it was my turn, he gave me my soda. There's one other picture I want to show you too today. This is different, and I'll try to share this someplace with the people back there. What do you see in this picture? How many people do you see? Three. There are three people. Who do you think they are? Who do you think this one is? Maybe what? The mom. And who's the one in the middle? The dad. And what about this little boy? A kid. He's just a kid with them. And they were sitting behind me on a boat. And the little boy was kind of close to my chair, so I turned around and I said, hello. And his mother said, he doesn't understand English. So at this time I was in Germany, so I said, Guten Tag. He didn't understand that either. So his parents told me, look, now if you look at their faces, the parents have a different look on their face than the little boy. The little boy isn't really very happy because he doesn't really understand what's going on. His parents told me that he came from a land where there was trouble in his land, and they had to get away and come to this place where it was safe for them to live. So if you look at the little boy's face, he's kind of confused. But how were the parents speaking to me? What were they using? Look at their faces. A smile. They were smiling because they were happy to be where they are, that they were safe, and that they were hopeful. So smiles can mean all kinds of things. And we come from different places, clear across the globe. We speak different languages, but we can all communicate with kindness. The girls that helped me, we can communicate with smiles, and we can communicate hope and a good future. So I'm going to hope that you're going to smile in a few minutes, because another thing from this land where I was in Switzerland, and they didn't have lemon trees. Guess what they invented? They had lots of milk, and they had chocolate. They invented milk chocolate, just so you know. And there are tiny pieces of milk chocolate on the LSE table downstairs where you can sign up for all kinds of things while you're taking a little piece of chocolate. And we're going to have chocolate back in at the Green Rug. So if you will sing to us, we will head out. You're going to probably stay here. Whoops. And there goes the world.
Time for announcements. As you know, we are an active and engaged church whose doings are helpfully laid out every week in our weekly e-news, available online every Friday. Additionally, you can check the whiteboard in the vestry to find a few urgent upcoming events highlighted for you by Elaine Ball. Also helpful are those announcements included in your order of service this morning. So let's take a quick look at the leading announcement there. You can join the Climate Action Team this Tuesday on May 28th from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. It's an in-person meeting with no Zoom option. Click for details about this and upcoming meetings and events, including the Climate Study Series with 350 Vermont at UCM this summer. So that's a study series that's available to you through the Climate Action Team. And I happen to know that they're looking for a new chair. So we all, I think, know that climate action is probably the most pressing of all issues for us globally. And our own team here at UCM could use your support and attendance. There are only 2 more regular Sunday worship services left this year. So June 9th is Flower Communion Sunday, and it features an all-church potluck at 11:30 right after the service. So we will celebrate our church year with food and conversation in the vestry or outside if the weather doesn't cooperate. And last, UCM is seeking our next director of spiritual exploration. So you could be part of that search by just being sure that any likely candidates who might be in your area of life hear about it from you. So let's all support the effort of our executive team to find a great new spiritual director of spiritual exploration. And that's it for announcements today, which leads us to the offering. Generosity is a spiritual practice central to the well-being of our church community. With our collective resources, our free church gratefully supports the values we believe in. Each month, we share half of our cash collection with a chosen program or community organization, and this month, the community pouch recipient is Friends of the Winooski River, a nonprofit organization dedicated to the restoration and protection of the Winooski and its watershed by reducing pollution, improving habitat, increasing river stability, and encouraging sustainable enjoyment of our river. If you wish to designate your entire offering to the community pouch, please indicate that with a note attached to your cash or in the memo line of your check. You have all found the green velvet pouches, which we use for our collection. We are grateful for each and every gift, whether made in person, mailed, sent from your bank, or automatically charged to a credit card. One by one, your offerings help us to build a better world. Now we're going to hear a special musical offering with Eliza Thomas and Heather Moss.
Is that good? Is it on?
Yep.
Okay. There's a place that I know where the sycamores grow and daffodils have their fun, where the cares of the day seem to slowly fade away in the glow of the evening sun. Peace when the day is done. If I go there real late, let my mind meditate on everything to be done. If I search deep inside, let my conscience be my guide, then the answers are sure to come. Don't have to worry none. Life's sweet seed, when it grows like a big yellow rose, can wither and come undone. But that sweet-smelling thing will be blossoming next spring with the kiss of the midday sun. Living has just begun. When you find peace of mind, leave your worries behind. Don't say that it can't be done. With this new point of view, life's true meaning comes to you, and the freedom you seek is won. Peace is for everyone. Peace is for everyone. Peace is for everyone.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you so much. Next will be a responsive reading, and it's by John O'Donohue, as you can see. And I wanted to say that it's included in a book called Singing the Dawn, which is put together by Alan Crew, a member of this church until probably 2008 when he passed away. Very, very thoughtful, compelling human being. He was a psychologist, and he used readings, there are many of them in here, to help with his therapy sessions. This is not a therapy session, but it's a wonderful reading. And so we would ask that this be a responsive reading so that this side do verses 1 and 3, and this side do verses 2 and 4, and then we'll all say the last verse together. On the day when the weight deadens on your shoulders and you stumble, may the clay dance to balance you. And when your eyes freeze behind the gray window and the ghost of loss gets into you, may a flock of colors, indigo, red, green, and azure blue, come to awaken in you a meadow of delight. When the canvas frays in the currach of thought and a stain of ocean blackens beneath you, may there come across the waters a path of yellow moonlight to bring you safely home. May the nourishment of the earth be yours. May the clarity of light be yours. May the fluency of the ocean be yours. May the protection of the ancestors be yours. And may this wind work these words of love around you, an invisible cloak to mind your life. Now, a period of quiet meditation. And let us sing Spirit of Life, 123 in the hymnal. It's a privilege and pleasure to be with you this morning. The Worship and Arts Committee was gracious and perhaps courageous to invite me to speak with you. And certainly appreciate everyone who's taken part in this service this morning, musicians and technicians, and we couldn't do it alone for sure. Recently, a friend, when she saw the title of the service today, said that it probably would be difficult to tell some jokes. Her comment called to mind a Vermont story that you might know. It comes from this book, What the Old Timer Said, published about 50 years ago by a former Dartmouth English teacher who lived in Vermont. And the story goes as follows. A city preacher came out to the country to give a church service and found that there was one person in the congregation. So she asked the person who was sitting there if she should go ahead with the service. And the reply was, well, I'll tell you, when it's time to feed the cows, and I load the wagon and I go down to the pasture, and when one cow shows up, I feed her. So the preacher gave a full service with sermon and songs and readings and quiet meditation. And after it was over, she asked the farmer what he thought. And he said, well, I'll tell you. When it's time to feed the cows, I load up the wagon and go down to the pasture. And when one cow shows up, I don't give her the whole damn load. If you remember nothing else from this morning, and I will seek to follow the farmer's counsel, actually. So the blessed rage for order is a very, very puzzling phrase, I think, if you just see it. It's also curious, and it may attach your attention to it. And the first time I ever saw it was at the title of a book called The Blessed Rage for Order. And it was written 1974, 50 years ago, by David Tracy, who is a Catholic theologian. And it turns out that Tracy used the words from the poem of Wallace Stevens. It's a 1935 poem called The Idea of Order at Key West. And the epigraph in the book are the last two stanzas of the poem. And I don't know if they will be projected or not, but if they're not projected, I'm going to read them. So here they are. Ramon Fernandez, tell me if you know why, when the singing ended and we turned toward the town, tell why the glassy lights, the lights in the flashing boats at anchor there, as the night descended, tilting in the air, mastered the night and portioned out the sea, fixing emblazoned zones and fiery poles, arranging, deepening, enhancing night. O blessed rage for order, pale Ramon, the maker's rage to order words of the sea, words of the fragrant portals, dimly starred, and of ourselves and of our origins in ghostlier demarcations, keener sounds. While not attempting here a critical reading of the poem, J. Perini, Middlebury College teacher and poet, has claimed that Stevens was celebrating the blessed rage for order at the heart of all creative work. Grounding my remarks today is a personal reading of Stevens' phrase. You might call it taking liberty with Stevens. And I'll define the terms. Blessed is taken to mean anything positive, hopeful, of deep value. Rage is taken to mean passion, engagement, and commitment. And order, which you may likely know has 9 or 10 specific meanings, is taken to mean understanding, clarity, resolution, and a leaning toward justice and peace. You may wonder how this unusual lens, the blessed rage for order, relates to the worship theme of this month, which is called pluralism. To make that connection, it's worth recalling the engaging sermon offered by Reverend Karen Johnston here 2 weeks ago. She cited pluralism as one of the 7 values in the proposed new Article 2, the Purposes and Covenant of the Unitarian Universalist Association, UCM's 5 delegates will vote on this June at General Assembly. Here are the words for pluralism. We celebrate that we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology. We celebrate that we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology. Tied more closely to today's service, Reverend Johnston cited 4 essential qualities of pluralism developed by Diana Eck at Harvard Divinity School. These 4 are: pluralism is not diversity alone, but the energetic engagement with diversity. Pluralism is not just tolerance, but the active seeking of understanding across lines of difference. Pluralism is not relativism, but the encounter of commitments. Last, pluralism is based on dialogue. Grounded in the wider interpretation of the Stevens poem that I'm using, The Blessed Rage for Order, and Reverend Johnston's offerings on pluralism, I've reached new understandings of sustaining, creative, progressive, and essential endeavors here at UCM and in the wider community. First, consider these deeply pluralistic and effective endeavors, all of which can be described as public. UCM's community lunch, shepherded by John and Janet and supported by many. Good Samaritan Haven, where UCM's Julie Bond and Meredith Warder work. Non-citizen voting in local elections in Montpelier, Winooski, and Burlington. Vermont's Declaration of Inclusion, expressly pluralistic, has been adopted by 144 cities and towns in the state, and on May 7th became the subject of a proclamation of inclusion by Governor Scott. The commitment and actions of the UCM's Racial Justice Group. The wide-ranging work of the Central Vermont Refugee Action Network, resettling refugees and asylum seekers from many countries and supporting Mexican farm workers. The annual visit to Montpelier of the Boston office of the Mexican Consulate, providing essential services to 100 Mexican farm workers and their families, organized by C.V. Rand and others. The office will come to Montpelier on June 22nd at Christ Church. Another is UCM's Recovery and Resilience Undertaking, which, having accomplished a great deal, now moves to longer-term issues and calls for our full engagement. Montpelier's Commission for Recovery and Resilience, whose forum last Thursday filled the Senior Center with competent presentations, candid conversation, and cautious optimism. And last, the BIPOC Community Garden, which opens this coming Thursday. In this wider public context, we can look to a national organization called Braver Angels, which has Vermont representatives. Here is a website description. Braver Angels is leading the nation's largest cross-partisan, volunteer-led movement to bridge the partisan divide. Through community gatherings, real debates, and grassroots leaders working together, we're creating hope and showing America a better way. Perhaps UCM could engage with Braver Angels and have events here. There's another dimension to the practice of pluralism, one which relates to personal lives and values. You might call it inner pluralism. The writer E.B. White captured this perspective when he wrote, "I arise in the morning torn between the desire to improve, that is, save the world, or the desire to enjoy it, that is, savor the world. It makes it hard to plan the day." While many examples of inner pluralism could be found, the most compelling that comes to mind is enabled by Vermont's medical aid in dying law, called Act 39, about which Montpelier's Rob Merman has written a moving play. While currently beyond the reach of those with dementia, consider the challenging decision with the power to choose to end one's life. Moving beyond our community and state, the terrain is more challenging, using the blessed rage for order lens. That view comes from what appear to be intractable challenges of war. Ukraine and Gaza come to mind, and there are others. climate and sustainability issues, health, education, income, and housing disparities, immigration, political polarization and challenges to democracy, crime and punishment, and addiction and mental health realities. George Floyd was killed 4 years ago on Friday. Memorial Day is tomorrow. While the spiritual proclaims, ain't gonna study war no more, we need to study war a lot more. This is not to say, of course, that competent, engaged, committed, and hopeful people and governments, organizations, and nonprofits aren't having positive impacts. And it's essential to be mindful of progress as well as challenges. On one of those larger issues, the strengths of and threats to democracy, Reinhold Niebuhr, the Protestant theologian, in his 1944 book, The Children of Light and the Children of Darkness, wrote, "Humanity's capacity for justice makes democracy possible, but its inclination to injustice makes democracy necessary." Another occasion may be called for, whether there's an invitation or not, hard to tell. Another occasion may be called for to address adequately the wider, complex issues of the nature of progress, informed in part by two books. One is The Myth of Progress by Vermont scholar Tom Wessels. The other one is The Evolution of Progress by Owen Papke. To close, what offers hope? A community gospel concert choir in this sanctuary and Music Sunday. Ben Doyle sang to those gathered at the Senior Center on Thursday, quote, "We manifest our intention by our presence." Ed Dwight, a 90-year-old veteran who trained as an astronaut 60 years ago, took his first flight 66 miles high last Sunday. Imagine. DJ Tillman II, you may have heard her name, 17-year-old, became the youngest person to earn a doctoral degree in integrated behavioral health from Arizona's State College of Health Solutions. 17 years old. Poems by Mary Oliver and Stephen Dunn and Sarah Franklin. A Cardinals song. Listening to Dvorak's New World Symphony or Gershwin's American in Paris. Counsel from two close friends. Meditate. Reading in Friday's New York Times that even as she sometimes cries, returning to chambers after a challenging Supreme Court oral argument, Justice Sonia Sotomayor spoke of seeking a more perfect union. And if we are fortunate to have our faculties, we will always be learning. Albert Einstein said, "The eternal mystery of the world is its comprehensibility." The eternal mystery of the world is its comprehensibility. So be it. And I did want to say that this is written by Thomas Michelson, who preached in this congregation in the spring of 2012. A remarkable minister. Please be seated.
This is a sermon we will save in our memory. And this is a time to be grateful to our tech team who allow us to play it again and take notes. We can both save and savor these messages we've heard today. As we draw our service to a close, we extinguish our chalice, but carry its healing flame, the warmth of community, and its spark of hope into the week ahead. Please join now in reciting our unison mission statement. We welcome all as we build a loving community to nurture each person's spiritual journey, to serve human need and protect the earth, our home.
Closing words are from Mark Bellatini, a longtime UU minister. And the book is called Sonata for Voice and Silence. And it's interesting, Mark Bellatini was the chair of the commission that produced the Gray Hymnal in 1994. And he was also the chair of the commission that produced this book called Lifting Our Voices, which has many readings. So Mark is a person to reckon with, and it's a privilege to read his words. And I should say, too, that I hope you'll see in the closing words that there's a relationship, there's a tie between what you'll be hearing here about light and water, a tie with the Wallace Stevens words, the last two stanzas, and the John O'Donohue reading, where water becomes a crucial element. So this is Ode to Silence. You, silence, are the ground on which we build the fragile sandcastles of our every spoken word. You, silence, are quicksand where curses and cockiness and arrogance find their end. You, silence, are the strand of beach we stroll, where loneliness turns into solitude, and our small heartbeats join the much vaster heartbeat of tide and wave. You, silence, are the hand in which the pearl of the universe, grown around the painful grain of human suffering, rests in heartbreaking beauty. You, silence, are the wide, bright delta into which the river of this prayer fans out before it flows into the indigo deep. Quiet, dark, and lovely. Come, silence, fill this moment. And now Hillary will be with us.